Hey, welcome back to Two Super Guys for Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny. And for those of you who've been following this channel for a while, you know that Dylan and I are both Alibaba bag holders. We were inspired by our main man, Charlie Munger, but unfortunately, it looks like posthumously, he maybe sold a little bit of Alibaba shares. We're going to talk about that. We get to some other Alibaba news from this week. Get to it.
Two Super Guys trade stocks.
All right. So, the Daily Journal Corporation, famous kind of portfolio for Charlie Munger here to get to see what he was thinking individually outside of the shadow of Warren Buffett. They filed their 13F filings very, very early. They just filed it this week for the quarter that just ended, March 31st. And it looks like they sold a little bit of everything. This is kind of the first move that we've seen since Charlie Munger's passing. But they decreased their bank holdings, it looks like about 13% for the, kind of basically all he owned was 4 stocks within that portfolio. And the Alibaba kind of stake here, they trimmed a third of it off, 35% of the shares they held were sold in the last quarter. This is not the first time they sold it. Remember, a while back, Charlie Munger actually sold it while he was still alive. A little bit of Alibaba trimmed it back.
But that's
But that
also
was
because
going back to last
he
year.
like doubled down and bought even more, and then, yeah.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah. Yeah, I imagine the size of the position got to the point where other people within the corporation were starting to ask some pointed questions in his direction, and now he's no longer there to really defend his purchase of Alibaba shares, and he also is famous quoted as saying like he realized it was just a retailer after he bought it, and it's not surprising now that he's seeing that the heirs at Delhi Journal Corporation are trimming back their shareholdings here. All right. Um, yeah, so I feel a little bit more kind of focused in view here, but 105,000 shares were sold in the most recent quarter. But like I said,
oof.
they're selling across the board, so it's interesting. I don't know if they're trying to deleverage, de-risk a little bit, or if they were trying to raise cash for a specific purpose. Now that they're moving into the post Charlie Munger era, what are your thoughts?
I don't. Do we know who's taking charge of this,
I
or is
mean,
it
it
just
might
the
be out
board?
there. It's not anyone like household name
Right, right,
ish
right.
that way. The
I
information is
mean,
probably out there. It's probably a committee. Let's be honest. That's usually how it goes.
it does help that he sold a little bit of everything, but I mean, it's clearly one-sided towards Baba. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it wasn't even the largest position before either, so it's kind of
yeah.
certainly more focused there. But we got some positive news. So we're definitely moving into a different era, I would say, with Alibaba, where you have Joe Tsai back and more involved in the day-to-day management. And one of the things that looks like he's been doing now, since he's been a little bit more involved, is they're giving us a little bit more data on like a kind of shorter term basis, right? So just 2 days after the quarter closed here, basically for the first quarter of 2024 calendar quarter, it's actually the last fiscal quarter of their calendar year. Um, but we got an update as far as the share repurchases for Alibaba Corporation. Um, as of the close of this quarter, they had repurchased a total of $12.5 billion in shares for the year, 4.8 billion of which was done in the most recent quarter. So they're putting that money to work at a time when you see the stock at a very, very cheap valuation, which is nice to see, as opposed to many of the American tech companies which are buying back shares when the shares are at all time highs. So this goes a long way. In fact, we'll see it here on the next slide, but they actually reduced the number of shares outstanding. Oh, I actually found this one as well. 5.1% net
Okay.
reduction last
So
year.
that's awesome because that was our
Yeah,
biggest complaint for Baba over like the last 3 or 4 quarters is their share price is super low, and if you believe in the company and you're like, all right, this is crazy low, let's because they have an authorization for I don't remember how much it was a lot,
yeah.
20
Good
billion.
mention it. It's the next slide.
Oh, okay. I'm glad they're
Yeah.
finally utilizing it. Oh, look at that
Yeah.
ramp up. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're seeing things go in a positive direction. The year before they had 3.9%. They actually had 5.1% reduction in shares outstanding this year. And like I said, Joe Tsai's only really been in charge for the last couple of quarters. You're starting to see a little increase in the number of share repurchases here. So 1.7 billion to 2.9 to 4.8. He's definitely putting some money to work, which is awesome to see. They still have almost $32 billion in authorized shares to or funds to repurchase shares as of now. So even without an increase from that and from the board, there's a lot more share buybacks that they can do. I went ahead and added it to the macro trends. kind of graph here. This little gray bar is the addition for the most recent quarter because I think it was 2.43 billion ADSs outstanding. So this is where it would look like after this most recent quarter. Definitely making some decent room here. Obviously, you got to pay attention to the scale. It's still a lot of shares that are outstanding, but they're making some good chunky moves towards using that cash and buying back shares and reducing the number of shares outstanding, thereby increasing our own personal ownership of Alibaba. Right. So I forget exactly how many different shares I own, but my main portfolio is 100 shares. If you think about it from that standpoint, is they have another 5 shares worth of ownership in Alibaba without me doing a damn thing as far as buying more, which is kind of cool to see.
I don't know how much I have. I'm checking. I think you have 350. I have a lot more.
Yeah, nice. The stock has done absolutely
Ooh,
nothing. It's
380.
just locked in the channel here right now, right? Well, yeah,
Yes.
I'm 380. You say you're almost 400. That's like an additional 20 shares that they gave you in the last 12 months in terms of share repurchase.
Except the stock price has not in any way shown this, right? You would have, if you, like you just said, we're locked in a channel between like 69 and 75, and we have been for like five
Yeah.
months now.
Hmm.
It, I hate these terms. Don't hold what I'm about to say against me. But if you look at these graphs, people will always use hindsight, but they will say that this is sometimes an accumulation phase for
Okay.
insiders, right? It doesn't mean a lot. It's just when you're at a low price, share repurchases are going up, and the stock price is not changing.
Yeah.
Once again, it's always hindsight when they say that, so I hate even bringing it up. But
No, I get it, man. This is all garbage. We're all just doing our best. I just wanted to highlight here, though, is that this is a new thing for Alibaba. I couldn't find this going back into the last couple of years. Basically, they've done this twice now, where right after the quarter is ended, they announced the share repurchase numbers. This is a Joe Tsai move now that he's back in charge, and I love it because what does it signal? It signals that they care about rewarding shareholders and that they're trying to show that they're putting in an effort to reuse their cash to reward shareholders. That's definitely a shareholder centric mentality. You've even seen other things here too. Like, yeah, I'm not even really didn't get into this, but they basically withdrawing their IPOs for other products, which is fine with me. If you cannot get a higher premium by listing this thing publicly, keeping it in house and keeping it working for Alibaba entirely is what I'd like to see. I think they're making long term prudent financial decisions, and I'm happy to continue being a shareholder of Alibaba, and will do so for quite some time. That's where I'm
but
at.
will you buy more at this price?
No,
There
no,
you go.
I'm still not buying more. I'm still selling my covered calls against it too, actually, which is fun. I actually
I
even rolled it down in the most recent one because basically the theta decay was so rapid that I was like, I can probably pick up a little bit more premium, so I did.
I'm still too afraid on Baba. It's terrifying, but
Fair enough.
it just jumps around so much. All right, guys, let us know if you think the Daily Journal. I almost said Charlie Munger, R.I.P. The Daily Journal move actually means something, and if you're stoked about the buybacks.
Yeah. Catch you the next one.